Kia ora Rotorua, head in tonight's bulletin. Friday night's free outdoor screening of Disney's Frozen is expected to be a big hit with locals. We get public reaction to the announcement of government funding to accelerate investigation into an Eastern arterial solution, and a new app is being incorporated into this year's Orienteering Bay of Plenty's Modified Orienteering Challenge. The Harcourt's ice rink has been open for nearly a week and has already set the scene for an exciting Rotorua Fire and Ice Festival. Over the next 4 weeks, events from Ice Ferries Weekend to the Polar Plunge and Blaze Night are part of the Winter Festival. Events and venues organiser Jason Cameron says the winter feature film this Friday night is going to be a hit with the locals.
Yeah, so the HITS Fire and Ice Festival takes place over the period of the month. Started last week and it'll complete itself at the end of July. And we've got an eclectic array of events, including the Rotorua Daily Post Outdoor Feature Film Night, which is on this Friday. And then we've got the following weekend, we've got the inaugural Rotorua Polar Plunge and Firewalk events, and the Blaze Night on Saturday night with a huge public bonfire, the electric blaze riders and a laser light fireworks show. So there's plenty of action and excitement down here at the Village Green in Rotorua.
The thorny issue on an Eastern arterial route is in the headlines again, with the announcement of government funding to investigate a long-term Eastern transport solution for the city. The current proposal on the table is strongly opposed by Te Aroha Hapu. To get opinion on the issue, Kitty Danielle went to Tanai Shopping Centre yesterday with cameraman Graham Jones.
Do you feel that they need a bigger road out here?
Not really. We've been here 15 years, we never had any trouble.
I think it's quite controversial because of the reserves that they're going through in the tapu areas, the historical areas that we've got around here, and you know it's quite a big thing really out this side anyway, especially for the hapu here. So, yep.
I used to travel to Auckland quite frequently, and if I got here when people were going to work, I had lost an hour virtually on the journey because getting into Rotorua and getting out the other side was a real problem. So I used to target my timing to miss that. So if it improves that, it'll be worthwhile.
Yeah, a bit of cost for not a lot of improvement.
I believe they should stick to this and redoing that area because, for me, it's always for Māori to hold on to Māoridom. It's about our whenua and the urupa that are there, right?
So it's about your land and the graves that are there.
He tūpuna hoki.
Ancestors.
Ancestors, yeah. And we can't just go and shift them. Our tūpuna had laid that down for us. They had sorted it all out back then. And also, I know my wife is from here. Te Rotorua Te Rangi has given a lot to the township and so forth, to the road going through here, to just take it and just, you know, what respect is that to the local rohe?
Meanwhile, both Mayor Steve Chadwick and Rotorua MP Todd McClay says they are committed to working with iwi and businesses to find solutions. Rotorua Museum is remembering World War I through an exhibition of community treasures. Opening at the museum today is the exhibition Great War Stories, which tells some of the many powerful and diverse stories from the Great War through objects and memories contributed by the Rotorua community. Great War Stories is on at the Rotorua Museum until November. A relaunch of Abracadabra Cafe in the CBD resulted in over 100 free coffees being given to customers yesterday.
This is the first cafe restaurant I've owned, but I've worked in hospitality for most of my life, about 15 years. I was overseas for about 8 years previously to coming home, and used to be first class on Emirates Airlines. So I used to work for them, and yeah, I love the service industry, love giving good service, and now we get to come home and give good Kiwi service, so yeah, it's really exciting for us.
In sport tonight, a chance is on offer to put your orienteering skills to the test with Orienteering Bay of Plenty's Modified Orienteering Challenge. Part of the project focuses on how technology such as smartphones can be used to increase the profile, knowledge and utilisation of the Bay of Plenty's natural resources. For more information, go to sportbop.co.nz. To your weather update now. Tonight, showers clearing with fresh westerlies and an overnight low of 0. Tomorrow, Thursday, mainly fine but evening rain, westerlies easing, a high of 9 and a low of 0. And the outlook for Friday, rain clearing, southwesterlies developing, a high of 10 and a low of 3. And the marine forecast for Lake Rotorua, westerly 15 knots, easing southwest to 10 knots in the evening, with waves less than half a metre, mainly fine but fair visibility in rain from the evening. Remember, for program listings and other info, or to catch up on city news, visit our website tvrotorua.co.nz. Still to come in tonight's show, we speak with the Registrar of Electors, Richard Marshall, about enrolling for the upcoming general election, and Alan Solomon talks with Oscar Nathan, General Manager of Destination Rotorua Marketing, about the hosting of the Trends Conference next year, as well as the success of the Famously Rotorua campaign.
Hey Richard, good to see you again. I can't believe it's been a year since we last caught up with you.
Flies by, doesn't it?
Down at your election office. Now, obviously, your election packs have just gone out.
Yep.
Give us an update of what's been happening.
Yeah, so we've just sent out around about 3.5 million enrolment update packs to people all throughout New Zealand. So last week was the week that they were delivered by the posties. So everyone who's on the electoral roll should have received their pack by now in the mail.
Now, I got mine last week and it said I was still a sales rep, and I was a sales rep about 5 years ago, so obviously when it has some details wrong like that, it needs to be updated.
It does. That's why we call it an enrolment update pack. So go through and have a look at the details that are inside the pack. If anything needs to be changed on the reverse side of the form, fill in the change of details. Remember to sign the bottom on the left of the form, send it back to us in the free post envelope, and we'll do the rest for you.
Now, I just looked at that one, it's actually got my name on it.
Mr. Alan Sample.
Oh, close, very close, but that's all good. Now, obviously, because you work for the election office, you can't really, you got to be neutral when it comes to giving advice about elections and things like that.
We do.
Why is that?
Because the job that we do is to look after people's enrolment details and to make sure that people are on the electoral roll, and we encourage people to get out and vote as well. But we can't be part of be a member of a political party and things like that. With our job, we just remain completely neutral.
Wow, that's really interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So you can't vote at all?
We do vote. We do vote.
vote?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, if someone isn't enrolled, what do they need to do?
It's very easy to enrol. So if you didn't receive one of these packs in the mail, that means that you're not on the electoral roll, or you're on at a different address. So what you need to do is jump online to our website, which is elections.org.nz, and check your enrolment details there. Or call into any public library. We have enrolling to vote packs, these ones here. So have your details changed, grab one of those packs, it's got an enrolment form inside it with a free post envelope, fill in the form, send it back to us. They're at public libraries, courthouses, they're at all the post shops throughout New Zealand, and generally all around the place. Quite a few of the warehouse stores now have them as well. Great big orange election.
Really?
Yeah. So when you see one of those forms, grab it, fill in your details and send it back to us.
Can people pop in and see you here at the office, which is now changed?
They can indeed, yes, they can come into our new office. So as of the end of May this year, we changed buildings. So we're no longer at Amohia Street, we're located at 6 Waterford Street, which is just a couple of buildings down from Bunnings Warehouse.
So once people are enrolled and ready to vote, is there any sort of deadlines to the voting?
Well, election day is Saturday the 20th of September this year, so people have, in theory, up until the day before the election day to enrol. However, if they enrol by writ day, which is the 20th of August, that means that it will be easier for them when they go to vote on election day. Everyone who's enrolled up to the 20th of August will receive an Easy Vote card in the mail, which they then take along to them with them to a polling booth on election day. It speeds up the process and it makes it much easier for them.
Speaking of speeding up the process, will there ever be a day, do you think, that we can vote online?
It will come, I think, in the future, but I'm not sure exactly how far away that is yet.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Now, there's also different rules for people that are heading overseas around voting time, and maybe people who need to vote early. What are the rules around that? Yeah,
so people that are going away, if they're going to be away during election day, they can do an advance vote, and they open from the 3rd of September. So just a couple of weeks before the election day. If they're going to be away during that whole period, if they jump onto our website elections.org.nz and under the search area type in overseas, it brings up what they can do on election day and how they can vote. Very simple.
Yeah, cool. Now, obviously, it's election year, like you mentioned. Things obviously changed for you in the office because we've come to see you and there's only 2 in the office, but today we walk in the door and you got 4 staff, so obviously things change. They
do. I mean, we've got one staff member here this morning who's spent the whole morning so far just opening mail. So we had, I think it was 3.5 great big grey trays of mail come in this morning. A lot have gone no address mail where people have moved properties, so we process that and that takes them off the electoral roll. So if people have moved in the last 3 years, they do need to make sure that their enrolment details are up to date.
Let's just jump ship a little bit because you're heavily involved with amateur theatre here in Rotorua, and the last show you were involved in was here.
That's right.
How successful was that?
Yep, so I'm involved with the Rotorua Musical Theatre and directed the musical Here, which was on in May. We had a 2-week sellout season, so it was fantastic. People coming from all over the North Island to see the show. 46 years old the show was, and people were still travelling that distance to see it because it's still that iconic piece of theatre that people wanted to come and see.
Is that normal for a show to sell out for the whole 2 weeks?
Generally, no. So it did break a few records. Cool. Last year when we produced Chicago, that sold out for 3 weeks. So again, it's a show that's well known, so we've had a bit of luck the last few years, which is great.
And your next year, the show that's coming up?
The next big show for Rotorua Musical Theatre is Mamma Mia. So 10 societies in New Zealand, the only country in the world, have been granted the second-tier rights to perform Mamma Mia. It's still running on Broadway. It's still running on the West End, and there are 10 societies in New Zealand, of all places, that have the rights to do this show. Nowhere else in the world has been granted permission to do it. It's coming to Rotorua in February next year. Auditions are being held in September this year, so anyone who's interested in theatre, wants to have a go at it, come along and audition. There's more information on our website, rotoruamusicaltheatre.co.nz. We can send you an audition information pack if you send us an email to info@rotoruamusicaltheatre.co.nz. Has all the information in there about the auditions, the rehearsals, the characters in the show, what songs you need to sing for your audition and that.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to enrol to vote or get into amateur theatre, just get hold of you, Richard.
Get hold of me, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Well, Destination Rotorua have kept themselves busy over the last 18 months with some of their ideas and visions coming to fruition as of late. Now I'm catching up with Destination Rotorua manager Oscar Nathan today, and he's going to explain just how busy they've been. Morning, Oscar, good to see you again.
Morning.
Now, fantastic news for the city. The Trends International Trade Expo is coming to Rotorua, and I can't think of any better way to celebrate the industry here in our country, especially here in Rotorua.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Well, the last time we had it in the city was back in 2007 and 8. And since then it's found itself around Auckland, Queenstown, Auckland again. So we really wanted it back here. And so we've got it next year, about the 17th of May. And the city and the Central North Island's going to really do well out of having it here and exposing what we have as a destination.
This must be absolutely vital for the industry here, is it?
Yeah, it's a massive boost. Trends has grown into quite a beast now. It's a massive exposure, about 300 international buyers. They're all targeted, so it's a closed event. So they're all targeted, they're flown over here, treated well, brought over here based on the propensity of their current spend and their future spends and programs and so forth. There's about 260 to 80 New Zealand exhibitors that then meet with those buyers over 51 appointments over about 3 days. And then wrapped around that you have a strong media program of about 40 people as well that are brought in. So yeah, it's going to be massive, and Rotorua is looking forward to sort of acting as the central hub for the wider Central North Island. And that was the proposition we pitched in our bid, and that's what secured it.
So obviously it's important for the international buyers to come here to Rotorua, but I think it's also important for the domestic buyers as well, especially from Queenstown and from Auckland. So how important is it for them to come to our city to experience what we've got?
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's really essential for us to be giving the right, I suppose, perception and securing an event like Trends and other events. We've also got the SINS conference later this year, which is the Conference and Incentive New Zealand conference, and those are the sort of events that are quite pivotal, particularly in the industry, to win and to just allow those that sell on your behalf to see what changes there have been in the experience. We've constantly got reinvention, new product, and people investing in themselves. So it's all great opportunity. Yeah.
Cool. Now we'll just change gears a little bit. How's the famously Rotorua campaign going? Obviously, it's been up and running for some time now.
Yep.
But all good reports in the media?
Yeah, no, it's going fantastic. The whole first year of the platform for Famously was around perception change. Probably more rudimentary than that was actually starting to have a discussion, particularly with the target market of Auckland, in a way we've never spoken to them before, and that's regularly in print, television, which isn't cheap. So that's why we've partnered with a lot of industry to help us. So the first year we got some sensational funding and support, and our year starts in July 1 year, and we're looking at ramping that up again so that the campaign's got to keep going for us to change perception. You can't do it once and then walk away from it. So, we've got different layers. It's integrated, the website, social media, print, and then obviously the television commercials, all wrapped around events and other things. So, yeah.
Now, obviously, there's tour operators in town that are going to support you guys in this campaign.
Yep.
How hard is it to get new buyers or new operators on board?
Oh, I think it's a couple of combinations around tough in the economy. Also, currently, we're in what we call our low and shoulder season, sort of low season. So, but to be honest, I've been really inspired by people wanting to get involved and support the campaign. I think, in fairness, quite a few people stood back and sort of had a look at things in the first year and wondered what we do, and now people are starting to see what's happening. I'm getting moteliers that are getting people checking in who have seen the Famously magazine. It dropped out of their Herald, and because we make it look good, it's good enough for them to pick up, and then they start reading, and we time it to go 2 weeks ahead of every school holidays so that it's an influencer for decision making. So for us, the big challenge is how do we turn Rotorua into, say, Auckland's playground, 2.5, 3 hours away, and particularly with the Mondayising of long weekends coming up shortly in legislation, we really want to make sure that we're owning that long weekend space as a real, true destination for the domestic market, which is our biggest market here in Rotorua.
Let's get back to some of the positive things that have been happening in the city, especially that's been reported in the news. We've got new mountain bike tracks, hosting global events, larger planes coming to Rotorua, and our visitor nights up 3%. Is that solely due to the famous Rotorua campaign?
Oh, I'd have to say yes, no. I think anything is always a combination of issues. I think probably the main thing for us is we really need to focus on continuing that message that Famously's putting out there. Like I said, Famously in the first year is around brand. We now need to start that call to action and everything else, and all those indicators going positively. For us, is around how do we sustain that and keep that going. We've had a massive April this year, but then also there was a lot of things that fell in April. We had that 3 long weekends in April that did really well, and that buoyed everything. So yeah, we've just got to keep working in that space, and like I said, combination of events, industry, positivity, and basically lifting the game really, because the destination as a whole needs to be more competitive.
It is good, all good stuff. Now we'll just hold it there because there's a lot more to talk about, and we'll come back to you in part 2.
Cool.
Hi Oscar, just carrying on our conversation about the optimism that's in our city, especially when it comes to the tourism side of things. One of the things that has come up in the media is that the increase of tourists coming to New Zealand through our airport, our international airport. Obviously that's a good thing because it's up almost 30%. How imperative is this airport to the growth of our city?
I think having that direct connectivity with Trans-Tasman is massive. We've really got to take things with a grain of salt though. So the gateway into New Zealand is Auckland Airport, and will always be based on the massive investment that they continue to make. But we can't underestimate having our airport as a Trans-Tasman gateway into the central North Island and the appeal that has. And particularly as we work smarter with airlines on I suppose joint campaigns out of the eastern seaboard of Australia and other things, and then in a domestic sense where the airport is hugely important is also, growing connectivity and opportunity around, increasing services between the likes of ourselves and Queenstown, for instance, and working on what we call a dual sort of north-south flow and making that a lot easier for travellers to do.
Are you guys having discussions with the airport and airlines, especially with getting airplanes from, say, Melbourne and Brisbane?
Yep. I'd have to defer that one to Alistair out at the airport, but yeah, when we do meet, we have met with airlines, and both Alistair and I, leave that conversation to him, but we've been meeting and talking quite intensely with airlines. There's various issues that they need to consider, but it'd be fair to say that, as I said, say with the domestic route between here and Queenstown, there's some consideration going on there, because at the end of the day, the better we do and the better Queenstown's doing, and the more we can connect people to each other, particularly in the likes of the mountain biking space. We've just had $250,000 government invested side by side with the likes of Skyline and Mountain Bike Rotorua in terms of the new downhill experience that is going to happen up at Skyline, and that now cements our ownership in that mountain bike space. Queenstown have done well out of sort of claiming some of the downhill elements of mountain biking, but that's because we haven't had a downhill opportunity. But doing that, having the ability to pick people up on gondola with your bike and having a massive trail ride down, that combined with our Whakarewarewa forest asset, we're unparalleled in the Southern Hemisphere, to be honest, and that's a space we want to keep owning. Yeah.
One of the big events they have down in Queenstown is the Winter Festival. Now, I've been to a number of them. They're absolutely just amazing. Obviously, they've got snow.
Yeah.
We don't have snow. That's probably the factor in it that gives them that X factor.
Yeah.
Is there any scope for Rotorua to have a winter festival?
Yeah, I think we're always thinking about how we can do things, and you hit it on the head. The difference between us and Queenstown is they're a resort destination. They've got they've got that 4 seasons play. In winter they have snow. In winter we have, in many respects, rain and cold. So we've got to be really clever with how we position events that we do run through that period. So we use a lot of our forest asset and lakes asset around, people coming in and doing triathlons and those sorts of things. Even with the fire and ice. So to answer your question, we're starting to layer some of the things with fire and ice. So we've got the rink down at the lakefront at the moment, playing with some elements around Matariki as well. But it is really, it's not exactly chicken and eggs when you're looking at what Queenstown does with its festival opportunity and how focused that is, and also it's a very centralised proposition, because Queenstown is quite a tight location, whereas here again 70,000 people, transient location, and as we say, we don't have the seasonality of snow or something like that, but we do have geothermal and we do have the forests.
Very true, very true. Now, just recently we had the Hospitality Awards. Awesome night, you're obviously up there.
Yep.
How important is that to our industry?
I think it's hugely important. Celebrating success is massive, and we need to do that. And just want to acknowledge the committee that have grown that event over the last couple of years. Last night was by far the biggest, and I think the best run. And having a night that our hospitality sector can get together and really celebrate its success is important. And I think going forward, there's potentially template opportunities for us to look at, how we might broaden that. It'll take a lot of work, but broaden it in a tourism sense as well.
Yeah, we definitely did a good job. Oscar Nathan, appreciate your time today.
Cool.
Good man.
No problem.
That was Destination Rotorua Marketing General Manager Oscar Nathan speaking with Alan Solomon. If you have any news that you'd like to share with us, give the station a call on 07 3488 984, or you can email news@tvrotorua.co.nz. Thanks for watching tonight. From all the team at City News, Maria.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.